let's talk about the newest collection from Oden's Eye. It is the Solmane 2 collection, and there's an eyeshadow palette as well as 6 cheek products. So excited to see some more cheek products from them. I do really enjoy their matte blushes as well as some of their highlighters and also the glowy blush that they have. So previously the blushes that they launched were very orangey leaning, so now they're adding some other ones, and I will be showing you everything. I will be cheek swatching all the shades, and I'm also going to compare a couple of them to their previous blushes and highlighters so you can see what the differences are. But let's take a look at the palette. I think you can already tell from the outside packaging what the inside color story is going to look like, and it is the 15 pan layout that we saw with the Solmane 1 palette. Love this color story. First time I opened the palette, I immediately thought of all the different looks that I could create with this one. So there's 7 shimmers. I think the shade Universe is a multi-chrome, but Moonlight is a duochrome, and Mercury has just a lot of different sparkles throughout it, and I'm going to get into detail in each of the shimmer shadows. And I did receive this collection in PR from Oden's Eye, so thank you so much for sending it over to me pretty early so I could get this video up for you. So I have been working on this video for a couple of weeks now, and I also have an affiliate code now with Oden's Eye. I will put it on the screen in case you're interested in any of these products. I don't have all the details yet, but I will make sure to put them down in the description box. So let's take a look at some of the cheek products. So there are 3 blushes, which 2 of them are matte and 1 of them is like really glowy. It's almost borderline kind of like a blush highlighter. So there's a pink one and a kind of mauve toned one. This one is a little bit darker than the previous one, which I will show you comparisons to. And then the third one is really interesting. It is a split pan, but I feel like the shades are pretty similar. So there's just a little bit of variation between the 2. You can of course mix them. You can dip into them individually. One of them is just a little bit darker than the other, and for the cheek swatch I did just mix it together. But I think you could tell from the pan that it is very shimmery. And the highlighters, oh the highlighters. So there's 3 new highlighters, one of which is this beautiful blue to purple. It is a little bit similar to one of their previous ones that is also a blue to purple. However, this one is a little bit of like a beigey, lighter brown base. And in my arm swatches, I did blend all of them out a little bit just so you can get an idea on what it looks like kind of feathered out versus swatched like an eyeshadow. It is very sparkly, very glowy. And then this other highlighter is almost kind of like a blusher highlighter as well, though it is pretty translucent. And this one is like a beautiful peach to gold with a little bit of orange and yellow as well. Really stunning. This one looks less shiny than this one, so you can see the reflection is quite a bit more in the other one. And then the third shade is a pink to gold, and this one is also very shiny like this one, and you will see that all in the swatches, cheek swatches especially. So let's get into some of the blush and highlighter comparisons. Then I'll be showing you each of the shimmer shades from the palette, swatch separately, and then 2 looks with the palette, and then I'll give you some of my thoughts at the end of the video. So let's get right into it. First up is Moon, and this one feels a little bit squishy in the pan. And this is a very sheer shade with lots of sparkles throughout it. I see red, silver, green, very dimensional shade. Next shade is Metcore, and this is a beautiful darker gold. And this one doesn't feel squishy in the pan. Super shiny, looks a little bit textured in the pan but does smooth out, and is one of the most opaque shades in this palette. Moonlight is a semi-sheer, sparkly shade. This one does not feel squishy in the pan. It does feel a little bit harder pressed. And this is a duochrome. It's a very vibrant, true blue straight on, shifting to a purple, like a really vibrant purple. And it has a really interesting base to it. It's almost like a green base, but it's only really visible in certain angles and light. Universe is probably the smoothest shade in here, a little bit harder pressed as well, not squishy. And also less sparkly because it doesn't have that extra little bit texture to it. And this one is very similar to Moonlight straight on, but it has a purple base to it, and it shifts purple as well. So that is the distinction, but I think if these were next to each other on the lid, I think they would look very similar. Top is Moonlight, below it is Universe. So you can see the slight variation and difference in the base tone, but straight on they are very similar. Next up is Pluto, and while this one looks textured in the pan, it's very squishy, which does help to smooth it out, but definitely not something I could wear all over the lid, especially anywhere near my crease because of that. And this is kind of like lighter purple, and it has blue flecks throughout it, and it shifts to a pinky purple. Mercury is a smokier light purple with lots of different flecks throughout it. I see blue and gold. This one is squishy in the pan, not as squishy as Pluto, closer into the shade Moon. And this one you can sheer out or you can build it up to be more opaque. especially because of all the dimensional sparkles throughout it. And the last shimmer shade is Neptune. This one doesn't feel wet or squishy. This is a very vibrant blue shifting to purple. And this one is also pretty opaque. So Meteor and Neptune, I would say, are the most opaque shades. Star Legend. Oh, it's so shiny. So excited. I don't want to disturb the pan. Okay, this looks like it's going to be a little flaky. Picked up a little flaky on this brush. This is a Refer 16. If you watched my brush declutter video, you know I like to use some larger brushes as highlighter brushes. So here's what that looks like. So pretty, super shiny, definitely very sparkly. I think you're gonna have to really like a lot of sparkle on your cheek, but it doesn't melt into the skin. I did not set anything though, so on a set cheek, which I will do for the next set of face swatches. So this one goes from purple to like a gold, like a gold, peachy gold. Moon Tears, another sparkly one for sure. Okay, picks up the same way, so a little bit chunkier. And I don't have my cheek set. It looks really wet, but definitely on the sparkly side. This one is a beautiful blue, like a true blue to, I see kind of like pinky purple magenta going on a little bit, but it looks really nice on the cheek. Light Glory, I'm so excited for this one. I'm using this Immortals brush. It is synthetic that I got with a gift with purchase. I feel like it's not really picking it up. Let me see. Might have to dig in there just a little bit. I feel like this is kind of like a blusher. Ooh, so pretty. I do have a set face, but you can really buff it in, and oh my goodness, it looks wet on the cheek. It's definitely got a little bit of sparkle to it, but oh, this is so pretty. And this is like a really vibrant orangey peach to a green, a little bit like of a green. Yeah, I see a little bit of a green. I'm going with a smaller brush on the other cheek, and this is Solar Eclipse. I am immediately love when I saw this. Love. I'm gonna mix both shades together. I'm gonna try to kind of pick them up, but I think the pan is large enough that you could use these separately. So I'm gonna be using this Cliona DF06 brush. I believe it was for the highlighter. It also looks like this side is shinier than this one. I'm not sure if that's translating. So I kind of just went and swiped across. I feel like it looks very similar to the other one. Just gonna put on a little bit more. Super, super shiny, very sparkly. So this one is a pink to a orange yellow kind of shift. It doesn't melt into the skin, especially if you buff it in, even though my face is set. Really, really pretty. For the first look, I picked up Star. I'm going to put that onto the inner third of my crease. Just kind of packing it on. It is more of a pastel, but it is definitely, it's got a bit of pigment. Picked up Planet. I'm going to pop that on the other half of my crease. And a little bit underneath as well. And just blending it out, and then into the yellow a little bit, just letting them kind of touch in the center here. And I'm going to wipe off this brush the best I can, and I'm going to go back in with Star and just pack it on in here. Taking a Lunar Eclipse on this outer corner to deepen it up. There really are only two shades to deepen up with, the brown and this purple. Just slowly feathering it out after packing it down. Going in with a little bit more. Going back to the other brush which has at this point almost nothing on it. And I'm just feathering out the edges a little bit further, taking a little bit more Planet just on the edges here. Picked up Meteor and I just misted it with some water a little bit. I'm gonna put that right in the center of my lid. Definitely very sparkly. Getting just a little bit of fallout. I picked up Pluto and it's gonna go on this inner corner. It looks like I got some blue on it or something. Or it's just, oh, it's shifting to blue. That's interesting. Definitely on the chunky side. Both of these shades seem like they're a little bit chunky. I would prefer to use my finger because I think I can just smooth it out a bit more when I use my finger with the pressure of it. Picked up Moon on my pinky. Super dimensional shade. Gonna pop that as an inner corner. And here's the first finished look. Picked up Saturn on this Fantasy Cosmetica brush. I still have yet to use it. I want to see if I can create an eyeshadow wing with it. It's definitely a little too large for that. I think I prefer my other brushes for this purpose. But it got it on there, but I need to add a little bit more. I definitely want more opacity, so just going back in with a smaller brush and connecting underneath my lower lash line as well. I'm just gonna feather the edge over here. And then I picked up Crater and that's gonna go into my crease. There's a bunch of flecks throughout here. I'm not sure if you can see them flying around, but I don't really, it looks cool in the pan, but that's as far as that goes, really. I just don't really care. They're completely blended away at this point. It's a matte eyeshadow. So I don't know if they're in there to like help blend this eyeshadow, but the two shades that have the sparkles in it are not necessarily shadows I've seen before that need to have that shimmer to help them out. Like I know on Neon Yellow, for example. Picked up Mercury with my finger, and this shade, like, it looks really, really shiny. It looks pretty opaque now, but you can definitely get it to be sheared out a little bit. So I'm gonna try to do that, basically. Just applying it on and then just using my finger to really just disperse it. And it's definitely a little bit more of like a topper. These all look super wet on the lid. I have to say, even just swatch, these are all super, super, super wet looking, shiny. Picked up Universe and I misted my brush with just some water. I'm gonna pop that underneath the lower lash line. This shade is so pretty. This one looks very smooth in the pan. Definitely seems like it's the least flaky shade, textured shade, but still has that punchy shine to it. And here's the second finished look. I am wearing the palette on the eyes right now. I just did not film this look. I just wanted to play around with it a little bit, but I did use the shade Lunar Eclipse Space, and then on the lid I'm using Neptune and Moonlight. I feel like they look very similar once they're on the lid next to each other. And on the lips I'm wearing the shade Spectral from their collaboration with Angelica last year. I'm not sure if these are still available, but this gloss formula is so, so good. So let's first talk about the eyeshadow palette. Some of the shimmer shadows in here are on the squishy side in a wet squishy way. So Pluto, Meteor, and Moonlight, and Mercury, they're a little bit squishy. Universe is the smoothest shade out of all of these. Some of them have a little bit of texture, but they completely smooth out on the lid. And you can use these sheared out, or you can build them up for sure. Specifically, Moonlight and Mercury, it gives you more versatility with the kind of look that you're going for, or the kind of look that you want. And as someone with hooded, oily lids, I will probably experience some creasing with the squishier shades. That being said, they're not as squishy and wet feeling as some of the ones from their single eyeshadows. So just something to keep in mind. I wish they brought back one of the formulas from the Jewels and Gem palette, specifically this one right here. It was such a beautiful formula, not squishy, not wet, but super, super, super shiny and just so beautiful. I was really hoping to see more of those, so I'm still holding out for that. As for the mattes, if you like the Oden matte formula, you're definitely gonna enjoy these. These are on par with the rest of their palettes. There are two matte shadows with sparkles in them. I have a feeling there's a purpose for that, but the sparkles just blend away, so I don't think that really adds anything special to them. I think it just looks nice in the pan. But those are my thoughts on the palette. As for the blushes, I already really love the matte blushes from Oden's, so I do really enjoy these, and I think you will too if you have some of the other shades they previously launched. As for the glowy blush, you'll have to really like this kind of texture on your cheek because it is definitely really on the shiny side. So if you want to be seen from space, then this is the formula for you. Same goes for the other highlighters, especially this orangey one is a little less sparkly and shiny, but the other two shades are very, very, very sparkly, and I think you're gonna probably have sparkles on your cheek. I think they look really nice on the cheek and they do melt in, but they do have that kind of sparkly cheek look to them. So again, you're gonna want to have to be seen from space to really like these. I really like them, but I would definitely go in with a lighter hand, and I see myself reaching more for like this shade or for the super glowy blush. So let me know in the comments below what you think of this collection. Is there anything you will be picking up? I would love to hear your thoughts, and that's everything for this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.